Hello, my name is Dale Wilhite. I live in the French Glamour in Mountain Village, Colorado. If you want to find out anything about me, go to MySpace where I have a page. This here is about joining the Air Force and things you need to know before you go to boot camp. Or in the Air Force, they actually call it basic training, which is takes place in San Antonio, Texas, at Lackland Air Force Base. I went to basic training in January of 1979 and spent 6 weeks there, and then went to tech school at Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi. Of course, it's been a while since I've been in the Air Force, and a few things probably have changed, but not a whole lot. And so I'm going to give you some tips if you're going to join the Air Force, or want to, that you need to know to get through basic training. First of all, you know the old saying, don't shave your head. That looks like a suck up. They'll send you right home. Don't do that. Just whatever let your hair grow out. Actually, let your hair grow out a little bit. I can tell you that my hair was long when I went in the Air Force. Just coming out of high school. I've been out of high school for about 8 months. And it took them, I was the second person to have my head shaved, and it took them 13 seconds to shave it. And what happens is that you see everybody going in to get their haircuts, and when they come out, they look like completely different people. And basically, we just stood around laughing at each other because we all look so ridiculous. When you join the Air Force and you get your last physical and you get on a plane to go there, you're known as a rainbow. A rainbow is, with civilian clothes are known as civvies. And that's what you're considered until you get your uniform and your haircut. You're known as a rainbow. When you get there, they'll scream and yell at you a little bit, and you'll go to a dorm. Not a barracks, but dorm. And we had 66 people in our dorm. And I think we only had about 26 that made it through. That's something you need to be aware of. That it's in the Air Force basic training, it's kind of like Simon Says. The MTI, military training instructors, what they're called, kind of play like a Simon Says game. If Simon Says go left and you go right, they send you home. In basic training in the Air Force, they're more likely to send you home, probably more so than in any of the other branches of the military. So you need to be aware of that. I remember them sending a guy home one time just for talking in line. I remember them sending a guy back one time 6 weeks to the beginning for talking in line. So you need to be aware of that. Pay attention. Before you go into the Air Force, make sure you know all the ranks, starting with the enlisted, which starts off as Rainbow, Airman Basic, Airman, First Class, Senior Airman, and so on. And know the military ranks, because you'll have a test on that. Know how to do a hospital bed. A nurse, somebody knows how to do one, learn it. Learn it and know how to do it. Learn the special ways to shine your shoes. We actually would pay somebody in our dorm, in our flight, as we call them. That's what, in the Air Force, that's what you're known as, a flight. A group of men or a group of women, was like we were flight 7077, I believe, something like that. I don't remember the number anymore, but we were flight 70. I'll just say 7077. But we actually paid someone to shine our shoes for us. What this guy would do, he would take some shoe polish, and he'd put some water in it, in the lid, and he'd do it that way, and then he would buff it and stuff like that, and our shoes come out shiny. Of course, then we started doing it ourselves after we learned from him. Learn how to really make your boots and shoes shine. Go buy you some, and learn to do that. And the water in the lid is the key to it. Learn to do that, because they do look at your boots and shoes all the time. That's something to remember. If you're in high school, I would strongly suggest that you take ROTC. I don't care if it's Army ROTC, Navy ROTC, whatever. I took Naval ROTC in high school in Port St. Joe High in Florida. And I learned to march there. Of course, my dad was in the military as well, the Air Force, and I learned a few things from there. Like I said, you'll be a flight. You'll be competing against another flight of men or women, depending on your sex, to be an honor flight. And if you lose, you're going to have a very upset MTI. So you need to really be on top of your game and learn. You've got the internet now, something I didn't have when I went into the Air Force. And you can learn all about the Air Force, all the ins and outs through the internet. And I would study it very, very carefully. because it can help you get through it. One thing about basic training that I learned about is don't volunteer for anything. You know, when you fall out for PE, you only have 5 minutes to fall out. You usually get up at 5 a.m. and you have to be standing in line at 5:05 without, not your boots on, but you'll have tennis shoes on because you're going to do PE. A lot of times the MTIs will look for volunteers. Volunteer for absolutely nothing. And the worst job that you will have in basic training is the food runner. The food runner is something you don't want to apply for. If you hear the word, we need a food runner, you don't exist. You just kind of duck and hide. You do not want to be a food runner. I don't have time to go into it, but that is the worst job you can have, and it's you got to be Rambo to be a food runner, just about. If you know what happens, if you join the Air Force, go to basic training, you'll find out what I mean when you see what happens to the food runners. Anyhow, just do some sweeping or something like that. Just do like that. One thing is they'll tell you not to take your watches off, necklaces off, rings off. You can't bring that. You can't be wearing that stuff when doing PE and stuff. And usually, most of the time, you can't wear it at all. And sometimes they'll trick you and say, "Does anybody know what time it is?" And then some idiot will raise his hand with his, "Oh yeah," then they'll bust him for it. So don't be aware of that. Be very, very careful of some of their tricks. Okay. In the Air Force, if you're going to be let's say a cook, you'll probably go to you would have at least went to Lowry Air Force Base, but I just remember they closed that down. But if you go to like personnel specialist or something like that, you'll go to Keesler. If you're a secure air policeman, you'll stay there in San Antonio. That's a little bit of more information I get. One other little thing I can tell you is that if you get into the Air Force and then after a year you would like to get out, of course you just can't get out. But if there is plenty of people in your AFSC, which means your job, you can apply to go into the reserves. And if there's too many, like I said, in your AFSC, they might let you out, and you'll just have to come once a month on the weekends, and just like a reservist, and serve like that. And you can actually get out and go back into civilian life. And you just have to report to the nearest military base or Air Force base wherever you live at. But you can't have any reprimands or anything like that. You got to have a clean record. So anyhow, I hope some of this helped you out a little bit. But the biggest thing you can do is go on the internet and learn all about the Air Force before you go into it. And remember that if you get through the 6 weeks, you'll be okay. And then you'll take off and head for tech school. Usually by bus, unless it's too far away. We had to go by bus from San Antonio to Keesler Air Force Base in Mississippi, and I think we got there in about a day. And they stopped off a couple times. We had food and stuff like that, and then got to our base. And it wasn't too bad or anything. But learn all you can and get the best education you can get out of it. If they offer you any college opportunities, take it as fast as you can get it. And try to get yourself an AFSC, which means job title, that you can use once you get out of the Air Force. Like air traffic controller or something like that. And that's going to depend, of course, on your ASVAB test. You got to take that first. And I'd go online and learn all about the ASVAB and maybe what's on it. And maybe you can pass it and maybe get a good grade and go on to have yourself a good life. Anyway, thank you for your time, and I hope some of this has helped you out.